Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In Morning Show where the Teach Better team is live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. This morning is a very special day. It is the Teach Better team's birthday, March 24th. We are celebrating here our 7-year strong, and we are so excited to do a little bit of a different show just to celebrate with you. We have so much in store, but I am not spoiling it now because even the boys don't even know what we're up to today. And we cannot wait to get into all the birthday celebration. So hang tight with us, fill up your coffee. We are going to spend the next hour celebrating, and we so appreciate that you're here. We'll be right back.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy
Good morning, everyone. Happy birthday to the Teach Better team. It is March 24th, and we have a little bit of a weird show this morning. As you can see, if you are watching live with us or catching this after the fact, we're able to see the video versus listening over on Teach Better Talk podcast. We have the one and only Jeff Gargas with us, which we already know, you know, and love, and Mr. Important, Chad Ostrowski, our two co-founders of the Teach Better team. Gentlemen, how are you feeling this morning?
Feeling like our team looked good in that video.
I know. I feel great after seeing the video.
I don't know if it's just me, but like I want to know what Livia was eating because it looked really, really good.
Delicious.
Like, but everyone had like the swag on, and baby Luke was there. Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see that video, we'll be sharing it out over the next few weeks to make sure that everybody gets a little taste of that birthday boost. Our joke for the Teach Better birthday is while we are thrilled to be here celebrating our 7th birthday, we really just want to share happy birthday with all of our friends and family in the Teach Better community. So we hope you soak up the fun of that little video. As we get started here, there's a whole lot of comments saying good morning. So we are going to be celebrating the good morning and birthday comments throughout our time getting started. But I am going to say, gentlemen, that a lot of people don't know all the history of the last 7 years, and they definitely don't know you guys well enough because internally on the Teach Better team, we have a lot of goofy stories to share with you. So let's start with some basics. Jeff, I'm going to have you introduce yourself as if no one knows you, and I really want to make sure to note, as a co-founder of this team, we want to hear all the juicy details. So tell us a little bit about yourself in case somebody is just tuning in for the first time.
Wow. Okay. Well, my name is Jeff Gargas. I'm the COO and co-founder of the Teach Better team. COO was just some letters thrown together for Chief Operating Officer, which is 3 words to make me sound important. And let's see, juicy details is like that could get long right now. Started with Chad years ago, 7 years ago. It's actually longer than 7 years ago, technically, when Chad first came to me and said, hey, I have this idea of like, I want to put together like maybe like an ebook or something around this new way that he was teaching in his classroom. And I said that the now infamous or I don't know, unknown line of, dude, we're not just doing an ebook. But that was just before. And then today's the day that we like officially filed the paperwork and then made it like legit. Which fun story with that, actually, I don't know if anybody on the team does this one, is that
Do I know this? What you're about to say? That's actually my question.
You do. Oh, I know you do. Because
Do we have a business? Does that actually exist, or are you about to unleash this right now?
Yes. By the way, Chad, the entire last 7 years, we have not been legit. Not legit at all. All the money I've been collecting for taxes and stuff just right in my bank account. No. So we actually, Chad, I don't remember. We actually filed the paperwork earlier than today, and then we found out that Jeff filed incorrectly, and we had to change the way that we filed it. And I knew Chad knew about it because that was the first time Chad was angry with me. I think it was like because one, it cost money to do that, and we didn't have any, and it was like we had to like redo it. So it was a bunch of extra paper, not a bunch of extra paper, it was probably like 2 pages, but we initially filed it incorrectly, and then we had to adjust it. So like that was like day one screw up. And it was good. And this was the day that we actually like officially got it back, and we're like,
I believe we filed as the wrong type of organization, if I remember correctly.
We marked the wrong letter.
Change all of our presentations
because it listed differently.
Off
because it was
the comma.
You're right. Because it was a list. Yeah. Initially filed as LLP instead of LLC, so we had to change all that.
Are you confirming that you made a mistake the first moment this company was born? I just want to confirm.
What he just confirmed was that the entire company was formed based on a mistake. Like the entire first.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, we formed the whole thing based on an idea Chad had, so clearly it was a mistake.
Well, that's what we're going to get to
number one.
I was going to say mistake number one was saying yes, taking that call.
We're going to get to all those stories. Before we do, Chad, I want you to introduce yourself. As many people know and will unfortunately learn today, you are the brain of this entire team. So introduce yourself for us.
I am Chad Ostrowski. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Teach Better team. I was a middle-level educator that had a crazy idea to implement mastery learning in my classroom using something we now call the grid method. I wanted to share that idea with others, so I connected with my one of my then old friends, Jeff Gargas, which we hadn't talked in a minute, and that sort of started this crazy over 7-year journey that we've been on. But it's from where we started, though. It still blows my mind. Some of the things we've been able to accomplish, and if I could like talk to myself like 7 years ago. Like I just like I don't know if I would believe myself. Like if I could like Terminator 2 like time travel back, like I don't know if I would like believe myself if I would explain everything that we would have accomplished or done. So it's been crazy. It's been a great 7 years, and I'm excited to be here and reminisce a little bit about it.
So you're telling me that you don't believe that if you went back a few years to your former self and said, "Hey, look, dude, you don't know this yet, but you're gonna have this great idea about going into business in the education field with your 4-time college dropout buddy that you haven't talked to in 2 years, and it's gonna work out well," that you would have been like, "Makes sense." That's good. I got it. Okay.
We are already getting questions in the comments about some of the history of Teach Better, which we are going to get into soon. So save your questions, keep throwing them in the comments. We're going to get to those in a minute. As many of you know, we start off our daily drop-in morning show with a moment of gratitude, and we are going to have both of you submit a moment of gratitude. Here's the rules, though. You can't just be grateful for, the typical stuff, the things that come to mind maybe initially. We want to hear some elements that you can be grateful for within Teach Better. We want something very specific. So if you want to note or mention a moment that you've had over the last 7 years, and where you need one from each of you, what are you grateful for?
I got one, Chad. Do you need a minute?
I was just strategically waiting for you to start talking so I could steal
I am grateful for, and I won't say the first time that we lost / never really actually had any chance of a very big deal or idea, a big project, big deal, big school district that we thought we had. And Chad knows what I want. We were talking, we were so excited about it. We laid out this like 3 or 4 year plan for them when all they wanted to do was talk about like a really small project, and we just weren't listening. And then they didn't go through it, and Chad and I beat ourselves up like miserable because of it.
In the middle of a road trip, by the way.
In the middle of a road trip where we were traveling to one of 10 Ohio universities that we were doing a 10-day tour for, and we completely forgot the fact that was happening, which was awesome. And we're just dwelling on this negative thing because we learned two big things there. One, we took away from that was that we needed to listen and focus on what the school actually needed and wanted, not our big grand visions, but also not to ride the roller coaster of the ups and downs and emotional of that. And it was both a really I don't know if dark's the right word because that wasn't dark, but rough moment and thing, but also I think a huge change in the way that we looked at things and the way that we did things. So
yeah, I actually agree with your analysis there, Jeff. I think that changed the way we approached helping schools, helping districts, helping educators, where we said, listen, we can't be forcing ideas on them. We can't be forcing solutions. We need to listen more. We need to react more. We need to provide catered solutions to what they're asking for and what they need. And I think the biggest thing that sort of established in my mind was the importance of establishing that relationship in whatever capacity it comes to us versus forcing a larger relationship with something they might not need or might not want. Is really sitting back and going, hey, how can we support you? Whether that's a tiny minuscule virtual check-in, or whether that's a giant 3-year implementation strategic plan. That was before we had the experience that we do now, but that was one of the first times we realized just the pure importance of building that trust, building that relationship, and taking those first steps towards those relationships to establish them and then grow that impact and success later versus needing it all up front, right? I think that was a huge component of that. Yeah. And we even had some internal kind of strategic things that all came from that, in terms of, if someone wants our help, find the first way we can help them and go after it. Find the closest target to how we can support or help a school or a district or an educator, and meet them there, right? And then whatever comes from that's great, but we have to meet them where they are. We can't just go, we need you to be over here, which makes sense based on our philosophy for education, right? But but that really kind of highlighted the necessity of that in terms of how we work with schools and districts and educators.
It's so interesting, as we're going to get into so many stories here as the show continues celebrating our 7th birthday all together. The stories are going to kind of go back and forth between these two elements of the Teach Better team. One is that, obviously today being something that's being highlighted, it's a business, right? It exists as an official LLC. It's a company. But also on the flip side, it's also a community. It fosters a global network of educators striving to be better. And it'll be interesting in all these stories that we are able to share to celebrate the birthday, kind of how the team goes back and forth and likes to be in, these two different spaces, which in some regard might be unfamiliar to our network, because we operate a lot, especially here on the morning show, just on the community. And sometimes we forget that there really is a fully functioning team behind the scenes making it all happen. Do you guys struggle with that at all? Obviously there's this business that you got to know a lot of business terms and file all this paperwork. And I don't know, there's payroll and all the boring stuff that nobody actually cares about in business. And then you have this community that's in the comments celebrating a birthday. I mean, this is a big deal. Speak a little bit to that, because I think sometimes we talk about business, it sounds dirty. It discredits all the love and green heart energy that actually exists in this family that we have here. And I don't want that to be in the background.
So, go ahead, Chad.
Well, I was going to say, one of the first things, one of the earliest conversations I recollect is Jeff trying to convince me that we should be giving more stuff away than charging anyone for anything. I'm sitting here telling him this idea, this mastery learning grid method thing that I created in my classroom. And he's like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to help the heck out of people. And I was like, okay, that sounds great, but we're talking about a business. So when do we charge them money? And he just keeps on coming back to, we're going to just keep on helping people. And I was like, but I'm sitting here as a classroom teacher, knowing at this time, very little about just business in general. He's just like, just trust me. Like, we need to help people first. And that literally has been the mantra and the foundation of every single aspect of what we do, whether it's our community, whether it's our partner schools, whether it's our grant, like whatever that is, it's always help first. And if that goes well, the rest will follow. The things that the business needs will follow that. So this help first mentality was at the core of this conversation. And that literally started with us arguing over a bucket or a basket of chicken wings at a BW3's in downtown Akron after not having talked to each other. And Jeff just goes, okay, so we're going to create all this stuff. And we're going to show people how to do this. I go, okay, when do they pay us money? And he's like, well, no. We like that there's a process. Like, you got to trust me on this. And I'm like, I don't know much about business, dude, but it sounds like a dumb business plan to like not charge people money for things because like that's what business is supposed to do. He's like, I know we're gonna get there, but we need to like this is what we need to do. And it's really funny, like, and I know this gets into some like you said, like some of that businessy type of stuff, but I think it's really, really critical to like the foundation of the philosophy we started this on is the one that we still carry today, which is like we want to help educators, period. Right? Like there's no like additional piece to that. Like we want to help them. And if we help more educators, we'll also do well on the other stuff, right? But if that's not happening, that other stuff doesn't exist and it won't exist. And that's something that we like I went along with it like after a minute because he kind of explained like the whole philosophy and I was like, okay, let's try this. Let's see if it works. But even me, like in that first moment, like I had doubts like, hey, like this sounds like a weird model to like try to, you know, make a like a life out of, you know, like to make an idea.
And Chad, full transparency, I know we're going to let Jeff jump in here in a second, but you were just wanting to make sure you could pay the bills. If you were going to do all this work to go support educators, you're like, but how to make sure that my 11 children aren't homeless? That's actually my only goal. It wasn't about making money. It was about trying to make sure that at least you could afford a Pop-Tart.
Well, and that's a huge piece too, is that it wasn't really about making a living at first. It was about sharing a concept, sharing an idea. Like our first conversation wasn't necessarily about, that's where the famous line, like, hey dude, we're not just doing an ebook actually comes from. We were sitting down together after this idea because I was like, hey, I know this guy, his name's Jeff. We had coached some soccer together. He had been, well, maybe we'll get to this later, but he had managed my rock band, which we can dive into if needed. But from that standpoint, like I knew he knew about like marketing. I knew he knew how to make an ebook because I had seen him post it one on Facebook. I think the ebook was actually like how to get Twitter followers or something. And in my head, I was like, hey, I've seen you do an ebook. Can maybe I want to do an ebook about this thing I'm doing in my classroom? Could we just like talk about it? And like the more we talked about it, it kind of evolved into this, hey, you know, like maybe there's more here.
So we're gonna get back to the story of how this all started here in just a bit. But Jeff, any thoughts on the discussion like between business, which sounds so dirty, and our like global community of green heart love? Any thoughts on that?
No. Well, first off, it was called "How to Get More Quality Followers" on Twitter. But anyway, and it was it did pretty well. No, I think for me, the first thing that came to mind is that I used to tell Chad, I don't know if I said this in a long time, but I used to always say, like, as long as everything we do is focused on the end goal of helping teachers help students, then I can sleep perfectly fine at night making some money. Because the fact of the matter is, in a capitalistic society, is that you need more money in order to keep doing the things that you want to do, the good things, whatever it might be. And what I would tell Chad, and I know Ray, you and I have had this conversation before too, is that as long as we keep doing that, I'm fine. Because the moment we stop doing that, and it's about the money, not the mission, people will figure that out, and then they will no longer want to pay us anymore. And that's just, And to tie that in with the earlier story of the, up and down roller coaster ride, and like realize, no, we need to focus on where's the first place we can help people, is that's what's made that work. Because when we start doing that, that's what actually has led to them saying, oh yeah, like we just need this right now. Like, great, we're going to give you 1,000% of this little thing as much as we can help you. And then later they're like, I need this big thing. So I'm going to call you because you didn't try to push the big thing on me. You helped me with what I needed. You did what I needed, and you worked, and it's just, it works that way. So for me, I don't know that I struggle with the back and forth. I think maybe I did earlier, but I don't feel like we do. I feel like if you focus on the community, because I don't know. I guess for me, sorry, Ray, I'm stumbling over my words. The thing is the help versus sell. Like for me, I truly believe like it is not a new tactic. It was a new idea that Jeff had. It's a very well-known tactic in business and a strategy. But for me, I think the difference is if it's just a strategy to get sales, it will stop working. If it's how you actually do everything, then it actually works. And I think it's how we do everything. It's how our community is, which is why it works and why I don't have any worry about the business side, I guess. Not that I'm going to start talking about payroll on lives or anything. So you guys don't know about that.
But that's what we want to highlight is that, yes, we are a team. Yes, we have a lot of goofy stories we're going to share, but I think it's so important. And Mark Horner said it perfectly in the comments just a few moments ago. The team was founded on ensuring that we were able to support educators at any place in time, however we could, to ensure that they could be better and that we could all work to be better every single day. And I think that's such a fun element to start us off on. We're going to head into our good news, and our good news is going to focus on how the two of you got connected. And then we have a few surprises for you. So we'll be right back. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for dropping into the Daily Drop-In Morning Show. We are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And shout out to those of you who are listening after the fact on Teach Better Talk podcast. We appreciate all of you that are commenting and sharing and engaging with this live stream, whether it be when we are currently live or even afterwards, because we love to hear from you. And your comments, your likes, your sharing actually helps us reach more educators. And today is a special day, so we want to welcome everyone into the party. Don't forget, you can celebrate all day long the birthday celebration over at teachbetter.com/happy birthday, including a big party we're having tonight that you're all invited to. For our good news segment this morning, we want to go back in time to learning better about how you guys met. We have a lot of comments making jokes about the rock band. Chad, you kind of alluded to that earlier. We have a lot of jokes going on about all the little ways that you two guys ended up meeting up to start the fun. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what Jeff is holding up, but here we go. Gentlemen, tell us the backstory. How did the two of you get to meet and start a business?
This is the backstory. This is a shirt from Chad's band, Silent So Loud, that I still have and I sleep with every night. No. So back in the day, I had a record label that I started called FTF Records, and part of that business was putting on shows in the local area. We actually put on about 150 a year altogether, but we did battle of bands and things of that nature. And Chad's band, Silent So Loud, competed in, it was a battle of bands, right, Chad?
I believe so, yeah. The FTF
Did you win
Battle of the Bands. I can't remember.
Whatever, maybe you won one either first, second, or third, because part of your winnings was to get a meeting with Gene.
Right.
Gene
so
Shelton,
maybe we did.
And that's how we got connected. So, sorry, I'm getting all. So Gene Shelton is actually he retired as the vice president of public relations for Warner Music. He was Michael Jackson's publicist. Like, he wrote the liner notes for Thriller. So not a small time guy. And he and I knew each other through Kent State University. He judged that battle of bands. He really liked Chad's band and said, Jeff, I met with these guys. You should meet with them. And that's how we initially met. And then they came on, and I managed the band for a little while. That's pretty much it, right? That's good enough.
And then you decided to high five and start a green heart party. What kind of?
So it was funny. Like, so as Jeff's managing our band, I actually credit being in a band, giving me the background I have in understanding relationships, business, communication, and those types of things. I mean, when you're in a band, you have more than one people, but you always have sort of like the lead members that kind of drive the work, the communication things. So through the work, then I played drums, by the way, so I wasn't like the lead singer or anything like that. So anyone that wants me to sing, I will not. It will be bad. You don't want to hear that. However, I did run a lot of the back end of the business along with the other band members. But through that work, Jeff and I ended up having a lot of sort of one-on-one conversations, organizing, discussing, sort of running the business of the band, and him running the business as the manager of the band and as the record label. So it required us to like basically work together more so than like maybe the other members of the band did on like a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And through that work, you know, as we were growing, and it was cool. Like we got to tour, we had played on the radio. Like we did a lot of really cool things with this band. But like that takes a lot of work on the back end. And I was like a college student or whatever at the time, so it was fine. And but through those conversations, that's how Jeff and I, in my opinion, really formed our friendship that went beyond the band, right? So after sort of some of the band stuff kind of started to wither and kind of go by the wayside, Jeff and I maintained at least minimal contact as friends over the next few years. And that's sort of how, but that's what our relationship was built on, was sort of interacting around the business of the band on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month.
And then I think where it really then grew was, but people also don't know that Chad played 4 years of college soccer as a goalie, and a little while after the band had stopped being together, so we weren't working together, I started coaching high school soccer, and I asked Chad to come down and start helping my goalies, I think a year or two or whatever. So that started we had this connection. We also both like soccer. We started that's what we started getting Chinese buffets together. That's where the love really formed.
Every story is around food, guys. Just catch on. Chinese buffet, it's all around food. Just know that.
And then after soccer, Chad went and became a teacher, and I went and started the online business, which led to the me knowing whatever Chad thought I knew. And honestly, there was a few years there when you went through to get your master's and all that, and got into the classroom stuff, and I was going here that we didn't. I mean, we were connected, and
there was a solid period where we touched base every
honestly, that's how you knew about the ebook, because I would throw things at him because he had a good design eye and stuff like that. But other than that, it was very little for a couple years there, which is why like the call was interesting. And like I talk about in the book, how it's like it had been a couple years since we had really talked. So
yeah. Like, I think the only time we really in person connected was when your son Jonathan was born. I think I stopped by on my way from like a work or something just to say, hey, congrats on your first child. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty cool. Yeah. But like it was big moments like that where we would touch base. But like other than those big kind of gigantic life moments, it was really just sort of we stayed loosely connected. But the soccer coaching was how we kind of reconnected, so that I thought of you initially, like immediately when I needed someone to go to share this idea I had as a classroom teacher.
We're going to transition here really quick into some hard-hitting questions. We're not only going to be taking questions from the comments that some of you may have for our two co-founders, Jeff Gargas and Chad Ostrowski, but also we have some juicy gossip questions that we really need to know, including whatever this grid method thing is, because no one actually knows what that's all about. So we'll be right back.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
All right, friends, we are jumping into some goofy questions here with our two co-founders of the Teach Better team as we celebrate our 7th birthday all together as a Teach Better family. We know so many of you have joined over the last 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 1 year. We're thrilled that you're a part of the Teach Better family. We have a lot in store, but we also want to reflect on some of the goofy moments over the last 7 years, some of the backstory of some of the inside jokes we know that you guys have heard before, and obviously answer your questions about the team. So, gentlemen, we're going to start off really quick with something that many people ask about, and that has to do with the grid method. We actually had a comment about it earlier. Where did the grid method come from? What in the world is it? And was that the company's name at one point in time? Chad, I'm going to throw this one to you to start us off.
Yeah, absolutely. So where did the grid method come from? It's weird because I tell this story literally like hundreds of times every year. So like
I was looking at my watch because this could go.
So I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible. So the grid method actually came from like solving specific issues, problems, and struggles I was having as a classroom teacher. I was having probably the worst year of my life and I needed solutions. And so I started looking at like, how can I solve things like student engagement, meeting students where they're at, and all these things. And like mastery learning itself as a concept made sense and seemed like it solved a lot of those issues. But I'm sitting here working in a high needs inner city, 100% economically disadvantaged school going, yeah, this research sounds good, but like, how do I make it work for me, my kids, my students, and like in my environment? Because that's what really matters, right? And because of that, I really had to organize it in a way that I thought would function and work. I had just started diving into things like DOK, and we had been focused on things like formative assessment, like in prior work that I had been doing. So I started to kind of put the ideas from mastery learning together with progressing things and creating progressions of student learning, formatively assessing, and things like depth of knowledge, and like putting all these things together. At the time, I was also the director of the middle level science department of my district. And because of that, I was kind of tasked with helping organize things like assessments and progressions and how to integrate the curriculum into all these other different things. So I was really in tune to like the curriculum work, the progression work, the assessment work. So when I started reflecting on my own instruction and looking for these solutions, it really married like these two worlds. Like I was a little bit of a leader in my district in all these other areas, but I was also struggling as a classroom teacher. So I needed a way to like merge these two things because I couldn't lead in my district if I was struggling myself. So I started thinking about ways to really meet kids where they were and move them from there. So I started laying out sort of these progressions, and that turned into this sort of progression that built on one or the other. And I actually wrote it like, I remember in like, it was like a teacher meeting, and I started putting like, hey, we can design this and tier it up with DOK. And what if we take our assessments and we align them and we make sure kids don't move on until they actually know stuff, because all my teachers were having the same issues. And I literally can picture it in my head, like on this big giant Post-it, like the original concept of like, hey, look, we can organize it like this. So at that point, as the director, like I started to make grids for my own classroom as like to show other people like, hey, look, here's how we could organize all these resources we have as a district, right? And so because I was taking it this way, I kind of ran with it. I started making grids and using it. And at this point, like no one else had really done it. Like no one was doing it. I was just like kind of trying to put my concept of how we can reach our kids, how we can struggle into practice from a curriculum standpoint. And then I realized we had to manage all this. We had to progress monitor. We had to put all these other things in place. So I actually remember sitting down with my principal and going, hey, I'm going to try this crazy thing. Like it was over the summer. He grabbed lunch with me, which was awesome because he like did stuff like that. I grabbed lunch with him and I was like, I'm going to try this crazy thing. Here's what it's going to look like. And I literally drew like a grid on the back of a napkin and was like, this is how I think it can work. Like, are you okay if I try this? And he was like, yeah, man, like, let's go for it. this is all after I almost quit teaching, right? Like, so like this was like my last ditch effort to like solve the problems in my classroom. And that's really where like the grid method came from. So I started this process. It started to do really well, be really successful. I started to see less management issues, more success in my classroom, better data and results, more learning happening, more engagement, all of those things we want to see as teachers. And I felt better as a teacher than I ever had before. So that was sort of like the origin story of like what is the the grid method in terms of where that came from.
Did you ever want to call it something else? Was there any opportunity where it was going to call like it was going to be called like the Green Heart Movement, best way to teach?
The Ostrowski method is a domain that we still own.
Yeah. So when we first started, like before it had like a name, we ran through several different iterations of like learning progress mastery, or like that's where things like progressive mastery learning kind of came from, because like things like that got thrown around.
Chad, you always called them grids, though. You were referring to them
I always
as grids.
called them grids, but like the idea of it being called the grid method, like giving it a name happened a little bit later, but like it was always called a grid. That's what we always kind of alluded to it. And then we realized there were like these other aspects of management. So it became a system, a framework, mastery learning system, which ended up allowing us to call it the grid method mastery learning system, because it was how you implemented mastery in the classroom. To your point, the grid method was actually the first name of what we branded ourselves as a business under.
There you go. Years later, then becoming the Teach Better team, and now this community of educators that are still very active in the comments. Good morning to everyone here with us. Don't forget that you can be a part of our birthday celebration all day long by heading to teachbetter.com/happy birthday. Jeff, we have some questions that we want you both to answer, but I'm nervous that you're not going to answer all the questions. So I need you to commit live that you're going to answer all the questions, but as we throw these at you. Are you committed?
I have no shame.
No shame. All right. No shame. Here we go. First question about the Teach Better team. What year were we founded?
2015.
2015, which makes this our 7th birthday. Here we go. Chad, who is your favorite team member?
Rae Hughart.
No. Why?
Easy.
Jeff, who is your favorite team member?
Michelle.
Michelle, tell us a little about Michelle.
Michelle, who's been in the comments. Michelle's been with us since like day 6 or something. Michelle and I worked together in a past life at Arby's, and then Michelle's upset at Chad. And then Michelle was helping me with my other business before this started, and then we kind of brought her over, and then eventually completely stole her from Arby's and stuff too. And she's just been with us for so long that she knows how to put up with all of it. Somehow.
Well, she's also like the reason we exist, like, and go places where we're supposed. Like, it's pretty crazy how much stuff happens as a result of like the stuff that no one sees.
and if I'm being completely honest, she's the only one that I think would actually go through with the threat if I said anyone else's name. So
I will say, as we get through these questions, you guys have shared a lot about how you formed what is now known as the Teach Better team. But then you also have grown this truly into a team that not only fosters a global community, but has internal educators working day in, day out to sustain the goals that you guys have set. So as we get into these questions, as we get into team members, I'm interested to see kind of how all these falls. Can you tell us which team member has the best mic drop moments?
Oh,
I know.
Best mic drop moments, plural, like most often.
Most often mic drop moments of all the members of the Better team. What do you think?
I want to say Brad.
Ooh,
because
Mr.
I think not that others don't drop like some incredible like knowledge and values, just the way Brad delivers things. I think at times where I'm like, that was a mic drop. Although if I'm being completely honest, I think Brad's someone who wears like the really thin mouth like a headset because on stage. Like, so I don't think he would have to like take it off and drop it, so it'd be weird. But other than that, I think Brad.
Chad, do you agree or disagree?
I was gonna go Dave Schmittou.
Ooh, that's in the comments.
Dave will say things that make you rethink your entire existence, but then like move on without thinking about it. Like, so that to me is like what the purpose of a mic drop moment is. Like, make you reevaluate your entire existence and thoughts on a topic. And I think Dave does that really, really well in the nicest, most approachable, most like effective way possible. Because it's usually with like posing a question, you're like, what the? I've never even thought of that before. Now I have to go rewrite my master's thesis from college. Thank you. Or whatever, you know.
Which team member do you doubt most frequently?
Doubt most frequently?
Doubt.
Am I able to say myself?
Oh, why?
Is that accurate? I'm always doubting myself. I think I probably seem to doubt Chad the most because I call him and I'm just like, hey, just wanted to check in randomly and see if you remember how to do the thing you're doing today that you've done 38 times this month that I didn't ask you about. You got it, buddy. So I think he probably feels like I doubt him the most, but I also like never think about what Chad's doing at the same time. So I probably treat him worse than anyone else, but I don't doubt. It's me. I think it's me. I don't know that I doubt anyone on the team, honestly. Like, that's not true. I think sometimes speaking of Dave, I doubt that Dave's working because I think he's just at the beach. So I changed my answer. It's Dave.
Sorry, Dave. Which movie best describes the two of your relationship?
Go ahead, Chad.
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, the road trips, absolutely.
Or what was the or maybe Tommy Boy, possibly.
Wait, am I David? I'm David Spade, right? And you're
I'm definitely the Chris Farley in that relationship.
Who do you think on the team talks to each other the most? So 2 people on the team that talk the most.
Probably you and me.
This question specifically says like on the phone, but I don't think that's fair.
Probably you and me, Ray, with me and Chad a close second is my guess.
I agree with that.
And we might vary week to week because there's some weeks, so.
What's the most useless skill you both know how to do?
Yo-yo.
You know how to
Are you a yo-yoer? Do we not know this about you?
I used to be, like in middle school and maybe a little bit in high school. Like I could do some yo-yo tricks.
Interesting.
And that's pretty useless, I think. So
somebody.
I don't know if I still have the ability, but if
somebody started a petition, Chad is yo-yoing on the stage at 2022. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I don't know what's the most useless. I don't have a lot of skills, so it's hard to pick from. I don't know.
It's pretty well known that the two of you have roles, day in, day out that people admire, that people
sorry, I thought you were talking like rolls, like belly rolls. I was like, well, yeah, that's weird to talk about, right?
I will say, like, your jobs interest people. Like, people tell me all the time, I want Chad Ostrowski's job. He has the coolest job ever. I want to know the best and worst parts of your individual job.
Go ahead, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best part of my job is getting to see the end result impacts of our work in classrooms. I'm one of we have a decent bench of trainers, but I probably get to see that more than anyone else on the team, where I'm in a classroom seeing the fruits of all the labor and work that we do reach students, right? Like, so I'll get to see in a classroom a student's light bulb turning on from the teacher implementing something that we're working on. And that has to be one of my favorite things. And just getting the actual feedback from teachers and students and principals and curriculum directors of like the success of the work, the impact the work is making, like getting to viscerally feel that on a daily basis, I think is definitely the best part of my job as I get to work with teachers and schools across the entire country. And the worst part is probably just the like being away from my family, the lots of travel to make some of those things possible. But it's also on the other end, there are times when we used to make the joke that I would go kind of underwater, like into the trench with like being on the road and traveling, where like there are times I miss some of the other great things that we're doing with our networks or internally on our team because it's like it can get a little bit compartmentalized sometimes. So that's a little bit of a challenge, is being able to kind of step back and just appreciate all the great things we do and all the impact we have in so many ways we reach educators across the country. But those would be my two things.
What about you, Jeff? Best and worst.
The best part of my job is that I don't have to leave my home to do my job. And I think the worst part of my job is that I don't have to leave my home to do my job. And it can
There
get
you
really lonely sometimes. I think that's actually true, but I think the best is that I get to work with people all the time still. And I think the worst is that I actually don't get to go out and be in schools like I used to. We used to go. Chad and I we went everywhere together because we were figuring it out as we
road
went.
Tripped for the first 2 to 3 years.
And now it's not as often that I get to go out and see that end impact in the classroom. I see it in other ways and stuff, but I think that's probably, I don't know if I would say worst part of my job, but that's probably maybe that's the part I miss the most, I guess would be the better answer to that. I was going to say that both the best and worst are working with Rae as often as I do, but I decided not to go there.
We have a few more questions that we want to reminisce on, and then we are going to wrap up our show here this morning. If you have questions that you want to ask Jeff and Chad, feel free to throw those in the comments and keep celebrating with us all day long over at teachbetter.com/happy birthday, including a big birthday party that you are all invited to. Jeff and Chad, as you think back, one of the gifts that we challenged our network to give the Teach Better team on their 7th birthday is by making a prediction about what the next 7 years might look like. But I want you to do the opposite. If you could talk to yourself 7 years ago and give yourself advice, not knowing that this would be where you're at 7 years later, what type of advice would you have given yourself?
I think I would have tried to convince myself that it's going to be okay. Early on, we survived on maybe like a 3-month survival runway. Like there's a famous story when we first started where Jeff basically was like, I was like, so Jeff, how long do we have till we basically like can't exist anymore and I have to go teach again or go back into the classroom or try to do this part-time instead of full-time? And Jeff goes, 6 months. I go, 6 months. He goes, yep, 4 months. I go, 4 months. He goes, 3 months. You got 3 months to figure this out. So like I remember early on like a ton of sleepless nights. We didn't even talk about selling iPads on eBay to survive and things like that, which maybe we can get into later. But we had taken this leap, and there was a long period early on where it was literally just building it as we went. Jeff was still not even full time yet. We were just trying to sustain like this being able to be a thing. And like 3-month runway, 4-month runway, we talked in terms of how long we could survive almost weekly and daily of how much time did we have on the clock. And I think if I could go back right now, telling myself it's going to be okay. Things are going to work out. Just keep doing the work. Because the other side of it is the original like courses, blogs, that was all like being done as like a part-time. Like we did a lot of that work. Like the original content that was created was like, we did for a lot of time with a very little to show for it. Like we built like this foundation, and there were moments where I'm like, what are we even doing? Like, why are we even doing this? Like, I don't know if we're going to make it. So if I could go back and go, keep your head down, keep focused. It's going to be okay. Maybe I would have been able to sleep better in those first few years, or maybe give my family some more reassurance.
That's a good one. That was an actual conversation, the 643. I think I would say keep trusting your gut. Like I don't know if that sounds cliche or corny or not, but like that's because and part of that trust in the gut was trust in Chad. We had this weird right off the bat, and as I look back and I'm like, how did we get that? I'm like, I think it was because of our ignorance to the side of like, I relied on him and just trusted that he knew what the heck he was talking about in education, and he did the same for business. And so we had this trust of like, it's gonna be okay because Chad knows what he's doing. It's gonna be okay because Jeff knows what he's doing. So for me, it would be like, keep trusting your gut, both in what we're trying to do and how we're doing it, but also that Chad knows what he's doing. A lot of people don't realize that I did not see Chad present until October 16th of 2016. Like, we were in like legit, like in business together for a while, working our butts off with nothing to show for it. And I had never seen him present before. Thankfully, when I saw him present, it was pretty good. So it was okay. But like, I had never seen him talk, like actually like tell other teachers about the grid method at that point. I'd seen it in like some videos and the work we do with the course and stuff. But that's an interesting thought to think through at this point.
You guys can submit your predictions for what the Teach Better team will look like 7 years from now at year 14 over at teachbetter.com/happy birthday. That is the gift that we are asking. If you are willing to take a few moments today to submit your thoughts, your messages, there's 4 different prompts there, one of which is to make a prediction. We'd love to have you be a part of that. Alex is jumping in the comments wanting to know, are you guys closer friends today than you were 7 years ago? And what does that friendship look like outside of work?
I would say we are definitely closer friends today than we were 7 years ago. It's actually continuing with the looking back and it's weird. Is like, we weren't that close of friends. Like we were more than colleagues, but like we weren't like, it wasn't like we were hanging out all the time. It wasn't like he called me because I was the guy he called at 3 a.m. He probably would have called one of his former bandmates long before he called me. Like, it wasn't that yet. But like today, he's the first person I call at 3 a.m. if I'm on the side of the road, which would probably not work out because he'd probably be in some other state and be like, "Sorry, dude, like I'm in a hotel, you know this," like, and I'd just be stuck. But no, I think for sure stronger today than 7 years ago, for sure. Unless
I
Chad
agree with that. No, I agree with that. I think if I was in a situation, if I needed someone to help with, like if my family, like you would probably be like the first person I thought of to call on like that friend level, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
when my family needs something, they call Chad. They don't call me. They're like, well, Chad can probably help us. So.
As we kind of wrap up this discussion this morning, being able to reminisce on 7 years of our 2 co-founders, which is insane to think about, 7 years. If you had one major takeaway that you said, if nothing else, you hope that every member of our Teach Better, Green Heart, Love family that we have here feels confident and knows about the team, what is one thing you hope that everybody can leave today knowing and feeling from the Teach Better team?
You are the reason we keep doing all this.
For me, it would be the gratitude that you trust us with your classroom and your students. We've started this with the hope that people would believe in what we were telling them and sharing, and how what we were saying could impact their classrooms. And this would not exist if it wasn't for teachers trusting what we were telling them, and that it would help them be better every single day. And the amount of teachers now, after 7 years, that have trusted us and put their trust in the resources, the training, the videos, the courses, and like, you name it, all of the things, the podcasts they listen to, the daily drop-ins they watch every morning, like we're helping teachers reach more students every single day. And that's what we started to set out. But none of that can happen if they don't trust us first. None of that can happen if they don't trust and believe what we're telling them will actually help. And for whatever reason, they continue to trust us, they continue to believe in us, and they continue to thrive with the resources and the knowledge that we share with them in the amazing amount of outlets. So I'm like eternally grateful that they still trust us and they continue to trust us and believe in the message that we're sharing with them, not only from the results that they're getting, but from the growth that they haven't seen yet professionally or personally, and the growth that they haven't seen in their students yet 5 years from now, 10 years from now, from the work from the knowledge that we're sharing with them on a daily basis.
Gentlemen, we are so appreciative that you were able to join our discussion this morning. Obviously, there is a lot more celebrating to be had. For those of you who are looking to celebrate more with us, there is a ton of ways to share your appreciation and celebrate the Teach Better family over at teachbetter.com/happy birthday, including a big party tonight that we want to invite all of you to, a virtual party to come together for an hour, play some games, invite your friends and family, and take some time to really enjoy the fact that you are a part of a community that is continuously looking at how we can improve our classrooms, how we can support each other, and how we can be better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we were today. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we head into the rest of our day together?
Thanks for an amazing 7 years.
Yeah.
Thanks for an amazing 7 years. I love
Excited
it.
to see what the next 7 look like.
Absolutely. If you guys have any specific needs or anything that we can help you with, please know the Teach Better team is always here for you. Whether you are looking to read a blog, listen to a podcast, connect with members of our speakers network, join our ambassador crew, or do anything else, take online courses in our academy, bring the team into your district to work on professional development opportunities, we are here to support you. Head over to teachbetter.com to get a little dose of all the options and ways that you can get involved in the family. Until tomorrow, or until tonight when we see you at the party, we will see you. But please enjoy an incredible Thursday, an incredible March 24th. And please remember that our birthday is only special because it's an opportunity for us to share our appreciation for all of you. So thank you for all that you do, not only for incredible students, but also for our family. Bye, friends. See you later.
Happy birthday.